Good afternoon. This is a quick review video on what we talked about in Math 2 class today. This is August 27th. We talked about linear equations, and we first remember there are three forms of linear equations. There's the standard form, which is the ax plus by equals c form. There's the point slope form. I don't have enough room to write it there, so I write underneath it y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1, where y1 and x1 are the coordinates for a point on your line. And then finally, we use this point slope form. If we have a point and a slope, we can use that point slope form to quickly get to the famous slope intercept form. Okay. And that's your ultimately very famous y equals mx plus b. Okay. What does that have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with the graphs. A linear function is a graph of a rate of change that's constant. Those are key terms here. Constant rate of change. Constant rate of change. And we represent that rate of change in this thing called the slope. Slope. Okay. We use the letter M for slope, and I like to remind myself that M is the first word in mountain, and mountains have slopes. It's also the first letter in move, both in Spanish and in English. Muévete, move. Okay, it's the same letter, and the slope tells us how to move from point to point on our graph. Delta y, delta x. Okay. Now let's go back just one quick step. I'm going to make a very rough coordinate plane. Forgive me for doing this freehand without a ruler. And I'm going to just make some hash marks on here. -4, 4, -4, 4. Remember the coordinate plane. The y is the vertical direction, and the x is the horizontal direction. So up, vertical, right, horizontal. So slope is essentially the change from in your vertical from one point to another. So I'm going to put a couple points up here, put one there, and put one here. And then I'll connect them with a colored line. I like purple today. Note my straight edge is just a pencil. Put the little flechitas to indicate the lines go on forever. Okay. So we got a point here, and we go down 1, 2, 3 in the vertical direction, and then 1, 2 in the horizontal direction. So we had to go 3 down, so that'll be a -3. That's our change in y. So our change in y is a -3, and our horizontal was 2 steps to the right. So that tells us that the slope of this line that I've just sketched in it is the slope of -3/2. Slope is how you move from point to point. Oh, and points, yes. Remember the coordinates. Remember I talked about the coordinates when we talked about the point slope form. Okay. The coordinates read how far from 0 in the x direction, and then how far from wherever that is in the y direction. So this point would be at 2 in the x direction and 1 in the y direction. 2, 1. Okay. Similarly, this one is 0. We don't go anywhere because right here is 0, the origin, and then we go 4 up. So this is 0, 4. That's what this point is. Okay. The x and the y, the x and the y. And always put your coordinate, your ordered pairs inside parentheses with a comma in between it. That's the standard way of writing these things. Okay. So now, the fun part. And we'll do this a little more rapidly. The endless butcher paper. Okay. Slope m equals the change in y. We find the change simply by subtraction over your change in x. So if you have, say, the point 4, 3, and there's another point on your line that says like, oh, do simple 5, 8. Okay. So then we say, okay, well, what's the slope? We need to find the difference in our y's, and you look at these are the y's. Remember, every ordered pair, just like I showed you back there, is an x and a y, an x and a y. So here's a y and here's a y. So the slope between these 2 points is going to be 8 menos 3 sobre 5 menos 4. Or you could say it as 3 menos 8 sobre 4 menos 5, 4 minus 5. Either way, you're going to get to the right answer. 5 over 1 or negative 5 over negative 1. And because negatives cancel out, negative over negative, negative divided by negative is a positive. This really equals 5 as well. Okay. Notice 5 over 1. This tells us to go up 5 and to the right 1. Okay. That's a movement. Remember, m is the slope. It tells you how to move from point to point on your line. 5 over 1. Keep that in mind. Now we're going to go through this process to get the equation of the line. Okay, we did the first step. We had 2 points. And we said, okay, what's the slope between those 2 points? So we found that slope. And now we employ the good old point slope formula to write the equation of the line. Y minus. And we can pick either point we like. And I'm going to show it to you because I'm going to do them both ways. Y minus 3 is equal to, what's our slope? 5. X minus, and what's the x coordinate? 4. And now we just use our simple skills of algebra. We know we have to add this 3 to this side, and then we'll have to distribute that. 5 times x, and the 5 times the negative 4. 5 times x minus 20, and plus that 3 that was on the other side. There's a negative 3 on this side, so it has to become a positive 3 on the right side. And now we can combine those like terms, and we've got our equation, 5x minus 17. Okay. Let's prove that that's true with using the other point. Okay. Slide my little slider over here. Physical difficulty there. We said our other point was 5/8, so let's do that one. Y minus 8 equals, our slope was 5, x minus 5. Okay. The point was 5, 8. Okay. Notice it's a negative 5 there, so when it's our point, it's actually a positive. And then we just do the same thing. You know we have to, that's a minus 8, so we have to add it. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 5 is 25. Plus the 8, and negative 25 plus 8, yes indeed. See, it comes out to the exact same equation in slope intercept form. All right. And I'll post up one more little video. Oh, just the thing to remember. This will be my last thing on here. I'm at the 10 minutes. If 2 lines have same slope, they are parallel. if two lines have the same slope, they are parallel. And last but not least, I'll just put this same slope, same, parallel lines. If slopes are negative reciprocals, then lines are perpendicular. So if you had to say y equaled 2x plus 5 and y equaled negative 1/2 x plus 7, because this slope is 2 and this slope is negative 1/2. If we took 2 times negative 1/2, you would see that that equals negative 1, and that's the definition of negative reciprocals. All right, that's a quick review of what we did in class today, August 27, 2020.